That's great.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
You can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
Welcome to the Saturday Sports Debate Show. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-hosts, Jack Hirsch and James Martin, as we'll debate some of the biggest topics today and yesterday. And, of course, the Super Bowl coming up next week. I thought this one would be a good one to debate. Of course, we all know the 2004 class of quarterbacks of Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and Phillip Rivers, one of the better classes in history. So my question is, Phillip Rivers never got a Super Bowl. But if he was a quarterback on the New York Giants or the Pittsburgh Steelers, do you think that possibly he would have got one? What do you think, Jack?
You know, that's a good question in that you expanded it to two teams, okay? And the answer is yes. If he were the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, he would have gotten the Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger, as the quarterback, took the Steelers to 3 Super Bowls, winning 2. Eli Manning took the Giants to 2 Super Bowls and won 2. But Roethlisberger and Manning won their Super Bowls in different fashion. Manning led 2 great come-from-behind drives at the end of the game. And I can't say Phillip Rivers would have done that. So my guess is maybe no with the Giants. I can't say with confidence he would have been a Super Bowl winning quarterback with the Giants on those 2 years. And if he wasn't going to win it in the 2 years Manning won it, he wasn't going to win it any other year, a Super Bowl with the Giants. But the Steelers are different. The 2 Super Bowls they won, they basically had control of those games for the most part. Okay, so I got to believe had he been quarterback instead of Roethlisberger, yes, he absolutely would have won a Super Bowl with the Steelers.
James?
I'm going to say no to both. And the reason why, I just think that Phillip Rivers, I watched some of his highlights and stats, and I remember watching him during that time. I just can't get over that loss to the Patriots when they had 14-2. And they had an MVP in LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006. That's just that's a tough loss, man. I'm not putting everything on him or anything like that, but his stats didn't really show anything that's significant to have that much talent with you. And LaDainian had a great game that game. And the Patriots made a great comeback to win that game. But you just can't let. I don't know. I don't know who to really blame there, but I just didn't see the quarterback put enough effort to say that I'm going to put this on my shoulders, not just the running back's shoulders. I got to find an effort to try to get this game and beat the guy that just won a Super Bowl and a couple of Super Bowls. And that's the team that's in our face. That's our nemesis. That's the guy. That's like the Patrick Mahomes. That's Joe Montana. Tom Brady is just that guy. They didn't do it. And both those games between the Giants and the Patriots in 07 and in 08, the Steelers versus the Cardinals, they came down to clutch drives at the end. And so those quarterbacks, that one against the Patriots was really tough. And Eli was able to do it. And then, of course, that pinpoint accuracy with Santonio Holmes in the end zone from Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, that's, man, how many times can you do that 10 times out of 10? Out of 10 times, it's probably 1 or 2 times to get that pass off like that. And it just happened. I just don't know if he would be able to get that. I just don't think neither team.
Yeah, let me retract. They didn't really have control of that game with Arizona the way I made it out to be. I mean, you got the feeling the Steelers were going to win, but I just want to make it clear it's not like they were leading the whole way and they had a handle on the game completely. They did have to come from behind. But you mentioned that one example. I remember that one game. But the year before, Denver won back-to-back Super Bowls with John Elway. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs, and that was an even bigger shock than the Chargers losing to the Patriots, because we knew about the Patriots' pedigree. And Jacksonville didn't have that pedigree, yet they beat a John Elway team. And imagine Denver, for whatever reason, didn't win the next, couple of years the Super Bowl. Their personnel went down. Well, would we have been saying the same thing about John Elway? Had Matt proposed the question, would Elway have won a Super Bowl if he was quarterback with the Giants or Steelers? Would we have then been saying no to that?
I agree with James. And I don't think that Rivers would have won with any of the Super Bowl teams. Eli, there was some luck involved in one of those games. That helmet catch was lucky. There wasn't a lot of skill there. He threw it up there. He caught the pass. I think the pass to Manningham was more skill than the helmet catch was. I think that Roethlisberger, different quarterback than both Manning and Rivers, strong guy, kind of elusive, will throw you away. Manning did do that one time against the Patriots, but that wasn't his calling. Manning was an athlete. I don't think Phillip Rivers was really an athlete either. He had that sidearm throw, and I guess you have to think about the teams too, right? Was the Giants team better than that Chargers team? Was the Steelers team better than the Chargers team? I'm not sure. What do you think, James?
No, I don't think neither one of those teams. I mean, that 2006 Chargers team should have, in all intents and purposes, probably should have been to the Super Bowl. They should have been in the Super Bowl, and it was just a tough. And that was a divisional game that they lost in 14-2. I think they would have gone on to beat who was 2006.
Well, that was in the playoffs to the Patriots. It wasn't a divisional game, obviously.
No, I'm saying it was a divisional game. I'm thinking about who would they have played to get to the Super Bowl.
I think it was Indianapolis.
I think it was the Colts.
Yeah,
yes.
I just want to say something. Mac, you said it was luck, the helmet catch. No, it wasn't luck.
That was luck.
That wasn't luck at all, because he got the ball. The luck was before that. I forgot the cornerback on the Patriots.
Asante Samuel, yes, absolutely.
Asante Samuel, who had a chance to intercept the ball. Manning was lucky he didn't intercept
he was lucky
the ball.
there
now,
too,
you can say that's luck. That would have ended the game. But the helmet catch, Manning got the ball there at the direction of the receiver. So that's not luck. He didn't just fling the ball. Well, Terry Bradshaw with that deflection in the playoff game to Franco Harris, that's luck, obviously, how the ball was deflected. But I hate the term luck. If you get the ball there, the pass to Manningham was a great pass. But the bottom line is this: who's a better quarterback, Eli Manning or Phillip Rivers? And I think you have to give a little edge their whole career to Phillip Rivers. And I'm not talking stats, playoff wins. It's the naked eye. Watching the game, watching all these years, Phillip Rivers is a tiny bit better.
Does Phillip Rivers end up in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah,
I think so
believe he
too.
does. Yeah,
Obviously not a first ballot, but yes, he does.
but it hurts him not getting to a Super. It hurts him not getting to a Super Bowl. I mean,
Yes.
but if we have to talk in the Super Bowl era, the best quarterbacks who never got to a Super Bowl. Dan Marino played in the Super Bowl, so let's X him off the list. Who was the best quarterback who never actually got to a Super Bowl game? Phillip Rivers, for example, is better than Kirk Cousins. That's a good list. If we ever, discuss that, I can't think of anyone better than Phillip Rivers who hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl yet, unless we're going to talk about the modern guys, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, throw them in the mix. But I kind of feel between the two of them, at least one of them is going to get there, maybe both.
That's a great question, Jack. That's never gotten to a Super Bowl. Wow. I mean, I'd almost have to put maybe Mark Brunell in that list.
He's better than Michael Vick, for example. Phillip Rivers. He's who else hasn't gotten there? Wow, there are a number of good quarterbacks who just haven't. You just look at the franchises, who haven't gotten there.
Jim Kelly.
Well, no, he's gotten one, but
they got the Super Bowls. Jim Kelly.
Okay, I got you.
Who hasn't, gotten to the big game altogether.
Yeah.
I'm not, and again, maybe we have to eliminate the guys who are playing today because, obviously Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are great, but there's, they have a ways to go yet.
Yeah.
Again, I would put Mark Brunell in that mix. I mean, come on. I'm not saying he's better than Phillip Rivers, but I'm just saying, you really underrating Jacksonville during those early years?
Mark Brunell is maybe a tiny upgrade from David Carr.
Or Derek Carr, you mean?
Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah, both the Carr. Look. I'm not saying Brunell wasn't a good quarterback or maybe even a real good quarterback for his time, but he's no Hall of Famer, James.
No. I mean, I would just put maybe a tier below those two quarterbacks you mentioned in Phillip Rivers and a couple other guys, Michael Vick, to have not gotten to a Super Bowl. Yeah.
All right. I promise this is the last time I'm going to bring up Jerry.
Quarterback. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dan Fouts. That's a great one.
Yeah. Wow.
Last time I'm going to mention Jerry Jones on this show ever again. But will the Cowboys win a Super Bowl with Jerry Jones as the owner? Remember, he's 82 years old. I mean, the clock is ticking. What do you think, James?
As a owner, there's a possibility, but I know this question says owner. You got to include the term GM as well because he's the GM. I think he needs to relinquish that title. He gives that to somebody else. You don't have much ties into what the day-to-day operations. You let somebody else run that. So no, I'm going to say no. They're not going to get to another championship as long as he's a GM. As the owner, there's a possibility, but no. I mean, as a GM, when you have the stronghold on that team, and you're and I would like to say he's what's called a megalomaniac, a person obsessed with their own power. That's Jerry Jones, man, to a T. He gets in his own way, I think, at this point. So no, he's not going to win. I don't even have much more to say about that, except that for that. My answer is no. I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe he has to hire someone like Joe Shine the way the Giants do, okay? I mean, be smart like John Mara. Hire Joe Shine. I mean, he's a genius. I mean, really, he's been a complete buffoon. Jerry Jones is miles ahead of him as a GM. Forget the owner thing.
Well,
Miles ahead of
you're
Joe
just
Shine,
you're
who
just
John
you're
Marin's
just
rehiring and rolling with.
your
Yeah.
your Jets GM hasn't done too well either, Jack. Go ahead.
Well, Joe Douglas did a good job. The players played poorly. I mean, he put all the pieces in place, except they didn't draft Brock Bowers, and now the Jets are stupidly probably going to draft a tight end this year and waste a pick. But, yeah, it's so hard to win a Super Bowl. I don't care who the owner is. The answer is probably no. If Jerry Jones, even if he relinquishes a GM, thinks, what are the chances of the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl? No matter how good a team you have, it's so hard to win a Super Bowl. There's only one Super Bowl winner per year. It's the law of averages. You could put an all-star team together. It's hard to win a Super Bowl. I mean, it's not cut and dry. I mean, if you ask the question, would the Cowboys have winning records going forward? That's a simpler question to ask. You have your destiny in your own hands a little more so. We were talking about great quarterbacks before: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Let's throw Joe Burrow in the mix. What are the chances of all three of them winning a Super Bowl before their career's over? The answer's probably not. There'll probably be at least one of them that doesn't win a Super Bowl, possibly two, maybe even all three of them won't win a Super Bowl, even though I got to believe at least one of them is going to break through, because it's hard to win a Super Bowl. Very, very hard. There are 32 teams that are competing for it, and only one can win it. And I know they're traditionally weak teams, but even the weak teams, like Sonia's Carolina Panthers, get better in time. And they make a run at it. Every team, the Commanders, made a serious run at it out of nowhere. That's what the modern NFL is. A team doesn't usually stay very bad for that long, or if they don't have the best of records, like the Jets, they're constantly making moves to get in the mix. And one of the years, the moves pay off and they go on a little bit of a run. So, it's law of averages are working against the Cowboys, So what are we going to say? Oh, as long as Jerry Jones is the owner, they're never going to win another Super Bowl. Well, how many teams win Super Bowls, period, no matter what they do?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think your chances improve when you hire good coaches, right? I don't think that, the owner did himself a favor, Jerry Jones being the owner, of letting these great coaches go without interviewing them and then hiring a coach that has never been a head coach before. He said it was a huge risk. I think you get players like a Derrick Henry and players that can help your team. Your percentages get better. I remember when Jimmy Johnson won that Super Bowl, the first one, and he was amongst all the press. And he said, "How about them Cowboys?" And Jerry Jones was in the back waving his hand because he wanted somebody to ask him a question. They didn't want to ask him a question. They want to talk to the coach. The coach just won the game. This had nothing to do with Jerry Jones. And I think that bothered Jerry Jones. I think Jimmy Johnson's personality bothered Jerry Jones, and that's why he ended up getting rid of him. Or Jerry Jones ended up leaving because of Jimmy Johnson ended up leaving because of Jerry Jones. I mean, they could have probably went on and won some more Super Bowls, Jack.
Jimmy Johnson speaks very highly of Jerry Jones today. Very highly. He says they worked together and won it. The real reason Jimmy Johnson moved on, he didn't want to keep coaching the Cowboys because he didn't really want to live in Dallas. He wanted to go back to Miami. He wanted the lifestyle there, and he went to Miami. And what the heck did Jimmy Johnson do at Miami? Let's start talking about that. The genius Jimmy Johnson didn't get it done at Miami. He didn't improve on anything that Don Shula did, anything at all. So if he was this big genius, and when they played the Cowboys head-to-head, the Dolphins, when Jimmy Johnson went to the Dolphins, the Cowboys would beat the Dolphins head to head. So I don't want to hear this with Jimmy Johnson, this, Jimmy Johnson, that. Yeah, the players liked him at Dallas. They liked him a heck of a lot. He was a player's coach in large part.
I do have to disagree somewhere there, because when they got back together, Jerry Jones acknowledged that he was part of the problem. He did live on air when they sat down and had their
of the split up, of the breakup. Yeah.
Of the breakup, yes, absolutely. So I'm not saying, and I will give you credit in regards to saying what he did in Miami. Let's give some credit to Jerry Jones, that he did put together a great roster for Jimmy Johnson, and they both worked together on it. But Jerry Jones was the GM, so yeah, he did put together a great roster. But they both got lucky with the Herschel Walker trade, so you got to add that in too. So part of that's a big reason for that. But with that said, he still has to relinquish. He can't handle. I think the thing is, he's got to be like Max said. He's got to be the man in the room. He can't have another big personality in the room, and those big personalities is a major issue. I mean, these other guys, you got the hand clapper guy, Jason Garrett. Those are the guys, and these guys had great teams. I mean, let's look back to when in the 2000s or 2010s, they had like 13 Pro Bowlers with Tony Romo, and they still couldn't win.
But did you hear? But listen, did you hear the latest from Mike McCarthy? The latest is they offered Mike McCarthy a 3-year contract. McCarthy wanted a 5-year deal and suddenly quit. 5-year contract for Mike McCarthy? Are you kidding me? He's lucky to get a 3-year deal. Lucky to get a 3-year deal from the Cowboys, but McCarthy quit because he wanted a 5-year deal. Like, what did he do to get a 5-year deal? You get a 5-year deal if you win the Super Bowl. Then you get a 5-year contract, a new contract made out. Okay? But also consider this. Jerry Jones might not be fully running the Cowboys because the word is that Stephen Jones is really doing it, but Jerry's got to be the lead guy because he's the owner, which is okay. Let him be the lead guy. What do you want, another John Mara over there who's a yes guy who will, just go along with his GM blindly and saying, oh, I won't be able to sleep if Saquon Barkley goes to the Eagles. And his GM says, don't worry, he's not going there. And then he goes there. And then they have a dismal season and he brings back the GM. That's what you want.
Why are you picking on the Giants? We're not debating the Giants right now, Jack.
But we're talking about what you can get in an owner. Jerry Jones wanted Johnny Manziel in the worst way. So let's get back to Jerry Jones. In the worst way, because Johnny Manziel was from Texas. It was a perfect fit. Texas hero, Cowboys, box office. He thought Manziel was a great quarterback, former Heisman Trophy winner. And his whole room said, no, we want Zach Martin, the guard. And Jerry Jones was walking to everyone and even got in his son's face. And he said, Stephen, if you ever want to be great, you have to take a chance. And his son said, Stephen, no, I want Zach Martin. And Jerry Jones relinquished that he could have technically overruled his room. The only time he overruled his room and he overruled his son is when they signed Deion Sanders. Okay? Jerry Jones always regretted not drafting Randy Moss because of behavior issues and everything. So when Des Bryant became available, he overruled his room because Des Bryant had these red flags and he remembered the way, they bypassed, Randy Moss. So, but that's what an owner does. Once in a while, you have to overrule your people on certain things. It happens all the time. It happens in baseball, Mac. With the Aaron Judge contract situation, Hal Steinbrenner overruled Brian Cashman because he felt he had to do that. You're entitled to do it as an owner now and then, but you can't constantly be meddling. And
that's why they won't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the way the Cowboy roster is now, I don't see him contending next year unless they make some real off-season moves.
I don't think Jerry Jones cares anymore if he wins a Super Bowl. I think he just cares about his success, his money, and the brand, the Dallas Cowboy brand. I don't even think he was worried about winning a Super Bowl anymore. You know?
I don't know. I mean, he's cared about it for a long time, but maybe he's gotten to the point in life where he's kind of just a little fed up and just, we don't know what he's thinking. You know, I mean, a lot of times we speculate what someone wants, but we really don't know. Like we say with Bill Belichick, oh, he wants to break the all-time NFL win record. But how do we know the way he's really feeling? Maybe it's something he would like, but it's not important enough for him to alter his whole lifestyle for.
We'll see. I think he'd come back to the NFL. I think Parcells coming back to the NFL. Maybe not this year, but I think he'll be back.
Belichick, yeah.
I mean Belichick. Sorry, Belichick.
I was like,
Parcells
wow,
might, yeah, wow. He's got his walker, you know. Anyway, well, next question is, now we know the Dodgers they've added a all-star team over there. I mean, pitching, hitting. These guys are stacked. So the question is, will the Dodgers win the World Series this year? I mean, you know, we don't know for sure, but we're speculating. That's what the debate is. So what do you think, Jack?
I mean, they should. Normally every year I like to sit down and analyze things, and sometimes I overanalyze things, like I did in the NFL this year, my predictions. You know, but baseball, I'm not going to overanalyze things. There's no way. The Dodgers clearly have the best team. And they're loaded top to bottom. I mean, their pitching's great. Their bullpen's awesome. They've made all these signings. I mean, but you have to win during the playoffs. And the beauty of baseball, anyone could beat anyone else. I mean, you could say that for any sport, but it's more so in baseball. I could have the worst team in the NFL play the best team in the NFL, best out of 7. The worst team's not going to win 4 out of 7. Maybe they'll get lucky and grab one game, perhaps. But in baseball, you could take a minor league team, a good minor league team, and they could win, let's say, 3 out of 5, maybe against the Major League All-Stars. It's conceivable. A 2 out of 3, put it that way. Dodgers are stacked. They're loaded. But you got to get it done in the playoffs. And they could conceivably get beaten in the playoffs. But they clearly have the best team, no doubt about it.
What do you think, James?
From a standpoint of them being the best team and having a loaded roster, I agree with Jack there. But what I did research, looks like their top 2 players, Mookie Betts and Ohtani, they were great during the regular season, but they slowed up during the playoffs. I mean, they seem to dip. Their stats dip.
Ohtani was injured.
He was injured. Okay.
Well, during the World Series, he was injured.
Okay, gotcha. I don't wish any injury on anybody. I just think, you know, I don't know within baseball, because it's just different from football. It's a lot different when you're looking at 30-year-old players. That's a little bit older, so injuries start to come, and you know, are they going to be able to hold that success in the playoffs versus maybe younger teams or whatnot that are probably a lot hungrier? Because these guys, I don't know if they're hungry to win another championship. They probably are, but age may be a factor, so they can be beaten. So I'm just thinking that with the move some other teams have made there in the NL West, I saw some of the other teams. I'm going to say no. It's hard to repeat. I don't care who you are. It's hard to go back. Everybody's gunning for you. Everybody's coming for you. It's hard to repeat, even with the money. And what did they add? Snell and their pitching. Blake Snell, and they also got the kid out of Japan, Roki Sasaki.
Tanner Scott for the reliever, and then they got another top bullpen guy.
Yeah.
They are loaded. They are stacked. Even Clayton Kershaw was out last year as a wild card. He's going to be healthy. He's coming back. And if he is just resembling himself somewhat, he's going to help them.
The great thing about baseball is that all it takes is one or two really good pitchers, and you can beat any team if they're under stride. And you got a Derek Cole or I'm trying to think of another great pitcher off the top of my head on your team, and they pitch 4 or 5 games, you have a shot at beating any team as long as they're pitching well. So that's the great thing about baseball. It's unlike any other sport, I think, when it comes to something like that.
And there's a thin line, Mac. There's a thin line winning and losing. Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series 4-1. So everyone's feeling, wow, the Dodgers dominated and they've been better than last year. But in game 1 of the World Series, the Yankees were 1 out away from winning game 1. Dodgers won it with 2 outs in the 9th. If the Yankees got the 1 more out, they win that game. And then the final game that they lost, game 5, they committed 3 blunders in 1 inning, the 2 errors and Garrett Cole not covering first base. All they had to do was one of those 3 plays right, not commit one of the 2 errors. I have Cole cover first base. And Dodgers wouldn't have scored that inning. The inning would have ended with the Yankees up 5-0. And the Yankees would have won that game. So the Yankees just, if things just went a tiny bit better, just a tiny bit, they executed 2 batters, for example, they would have been up 3-2 going back to Los Angeles. Meaning the Yankees would have been in a position to win the World Series, actually clinch it in game 6. But instead they lose 4-1, and the perception is, the Dodgers are way ahead of the Yankees. And maybe they are now.
Yeah. Even last year, however you lose, you lost, right? It doesn't matter. 4-1 at the end of when you're reading years from now, the score is 4-1 in the series, and people aren't going to care about whether Cole covered first or not. So to take the Dodgers, you're saying the Dodgers overall, what is it, 30 teams in baseball? Over all 29 teams. That's pretty good odds. I think the 29 if I'm betting, right? I mean, listen, the Dodgers have a great team. They really do. But as I said, pitching, injuries, a lot of things can happen during it. It's a long season. It's 162 games. Plus, you go to the playoffs. Arizona Diamondbacks showed everybody, even though they didn't win the World Series, they're like, hey, you don't have to have the best of the best to win. You just need a good team and good team chemistry. And that's going to be important, too, this year for the Dodgers. Will the Dodgers have the chemistry to go on and win all these games?
Yeah, we don't know. Sometimes a team looks unbeatable. We saw that in the NFL. It looked like the Lions were headed to the Super Bowl. Who would have thought their season would end the way it did? And now you look at the future of the Lions losing their whole coaching staff, it seems, and you kind of wonder where they're going to be next year now. And maybe that's what the Dodgers are going to be this year. Maybe a couple of players age, like a Freddie Freeman, who's getting older, World Series MVP. Maybe he starts to age. The Japanese pitcher isn't as good as we thought he would be. Things go wrong. Mookie Betts could start finally becoming a little long in the tooth. Things happen, but that's a great point you make, Mac. What would you rather have if you had to say a World Series winner now, the Dodgers or someone else? And there are 29 teams to choose from. Is one going to, step up? Might it be the San Diego Padres, who nearly beat the Dodgers in the playoffs last year? They took them to 7 games. Yeah. They were up 3-2, as I recall. Yes. So it's easy to forget that the Dodgers didn't exactly fully dominate on their way to winning the World Series.
Yeah, it is. You look back, Jack, at those great Yankee teams that had all that power. They lost a couple World Series. They went up against a couple good pitchers. I remember winning some games 10-2 and 14-1, and he ended up losing 2-0 and 2-1 and stuff like that. because they went up against a great pitcher.
Yeah, well, that was against the Pirates there, that series, 1960.
Yeah. So there you go. So, of course, we got the Super Bowl. Today, folks, just in case you want to know, the skills positions you'll be able to watch them now. You'll be able to watch the dodgeball and see who won that and who, the throwing when they throw at targets. And, they have a relay race now and a punting competition. They have a punting competition. Don't want to leave anybody out. So we got the punters now trying to kick the ball into barrels. I mean, this is just
Mac, I'm guilty, Mac. I'm like laughing, shaking my head sadly. But when you think of it, what else are they supposed to do for, when it comes to football all-star game? You don't want the hitting and so on. Some of the players haven't played since the last game of the regular season, so they've been off a while. There's the injury factor in football. If they play the game, people are going to think, well, they're not tackling hard, they're not this, they're not that. Maybe the answer is just non-contact flag football, a two-hand touch. But then what? But what else are we going to do? Just skip everything altogether. But you can't expect them to play a game anymore and like tackle and hit hard. That's just my thought.
Last time I watched a real Pro Bowl game, it was just incredible to watch these all-star players, great players, go up against each other with no regrets, with nothing. They leave it all on the field. You just don't have that anymore, man. It's just to watch a flag football game, man. I can't tune into that. I mean, I can go out and play myself if I want to do that. See a flag football game. I mean, even though I probably with these knees, I probably wouldn't get anywhere. But I just think that you miss the guys like O.J. Simpson or a Marshall Faulk when he gets 180 yards in the game in an all-star game, like that. And to watch great guys go up against him and try to tackle him, they're literally putting effort in. But they stopped doing that. I mean, let's go to the all-star games now for basketball. It's atrocious. I mean, just like 200, 300 points. I mean, 400 total. I mean, what is this?
It's playground stuff. But I have a thought with the NFL. Just a thought, and this would make players want to play. As much as they want, you put a money figure on, the losing team doesn't get anything. The winning team, every player gets $1 million. Now,
Wow.
I got to believe for $1 million to win, guys are going to play hard. They are going to give their $1 million. I don't care how much money you're making as is, unless you're one of the $60 million quarterbacks, then you could kind of, blow it off. But a guy who's making like $10 million a year, $1 million's a lot to him, an extra $1 million still. And I think the guys would play hard. And I think the players who bow out of the game, if you bow out of the game, you can't get the money. I think they'll want to be in. I think the players at the end of the regular season are going to really keep in shape and be psyched for that game. And there was one NBA All-Star game years ago. I forgot what year it was. It was maybe during the pandemic. With about 6 minutes to left, both teams started playing hard. They really wanted to win. And it was so enjoyable to watch. It was like playground stuff. Keep in mind, that's where these kids came, these NBA players came from as kids. They were back in the playground, and it was a beautiful thing to see the way they would band together, how much they wanted to win that game just for the sake of the pride of winning it.
Right.
I remember that game too. I can't remember what year it was either, Jack. It wasn't that long ago, really. It was
like a LeBron era, definitely, for sure. I remember that game.
I think so.
Back to what, before we get to that, I want to get back to what Jack said. I really like the idea of that $1 million incentive. The problem with that is that a lot of these young guys, man, I mean, no, I know it's no problem. I agree with you because they don't make as much money as a lot of these guys do. Because you got to think $1 million, it sounds like a lot of money, But when you get taxed, you go to different cities, you get taxed, whatever they get taxed there. That money is really not much like what you're thinking about. I mean, it's a lot of it's taken out. A lot of that money's taken out. So an extra $1 million. That's why a lot of those guys at the end of the game, like Mike Evans, was really happy that he got that bonus. Those bonuses or those incentives that they get towards the end of the season really matters. That's why I thought Jerry Jones was really he stiffed that kid, that quarterback, for that extra $500,000. He knew.
Wait. Do you know that Jerry Jones said not to play him? Do you know that? Has that come out? Mike McCarthy would not be trying to protect Jerry Jones now. Okay, he would not be trying to do that right now. So what else doesn't someone ask Mike McCarthy? And if Mike McCarthy didn't want to play him because he didn't want him to get the bonus, I mean, what is the difference between a coach throwing a player in to get the bonus? I mean, and it was only $250,000.
I think it was 500. I think it was 500,000.
250.
It was 250.
Yeah, I don't think
that's a lot of money for a player that doesn't make that much money. I'm not saying that to get an extra $250,000, you only need so many yards to do it.
I'm not saying, but I don't think the owner's getting hyper about it. Do you think Jerry Jones spoke to Mike McCarthy? Let me ask you, and said to Mike McCarthy, don't play him because he's in line to get a $250,000 bonus. I'd rather not pay it.
I think it's a possibility.
Do you think, but do you really, if you had to say, do you believe he communicated that to McCarthy?
I'm not going to discredit it because of how the same guy that didn't want to pay his players the amount of money that like Dak. I mean, that's an extraordinary amount of money to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb.
Money.
Huh? No, I'm saying they eventually got it, but he verbalized. I'm saying him saying out in public. Jerry Jones like to talk about how he didn't want to pay them that amount of money.
Do you blame him? You're not talking about Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about Dak Prescott. And you have to have apprehension in making Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in the league. It was a mistake by Jerry Jones to pay him that money. Jimmy Johnson said it was a mistake afterwards. Let him become a free agent. No one's paying him that type of money. You could pay it to him at the time. And
somebody was going to pay him, I guarantee.
Let the Raiders pay Dak Prescott. Good gosh. He's not one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
But I'm just telling you, people like the kid in Jacksonville, they're getting their money because that's just the going rate. That's what you can't get around.
They projected him wrongly that Trevor Lawrence is younger than Dak Prescott. They projected he was going to be a major star, lock him up into this deal, and they were wrong. He hasn't been that good.
For the record, I didn't bring up Jerry Jones this time. James did. So just to let you know.
Yeah, so Jerry Jones, if he doesn't sign Dak Prescott, he gets blamed. If he signs him, he gets blamed.
All right. So, folks, who will win the Super Bowl MVP this year? The three obvious choices I put down was Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, or Jalen Hurts. And, of course, for Patrick Mahomes to win, the Chiefs would probably have to win. And for Barkley or Hurts to win, the Eagles would probably have to win. So that might go into, who you pick. So let's start with Jack. Jack, who is the Super Bowl MVP this year?
I mean, normally quarterbacks are favored. I'm going to go on a wild card, okay? A wild card and say Chris Jones.
Wow.
I think it'll be a good defensive game that he's going to get 3 sacks. Aaron Donald got robbed of the MVP, a few years back when they gave it to Cooper Kupp. I mean, bad move, but it happens. They make mistakes in the MVP voting. Do I really think Chris Jones is going to win it? No. But if I have to be a little cute and take a wild card prediction, Patrick Mahomes is too obvious a choice because if the Chiefs win, the logical thing normally is give it to Patrick Mahomes, unless Travis Kelce catches 11 passes and 2 for touchdowns, then they'll give it to Travis Kelce. I mean, we don't know who's going to win it. Jalen Hurts is an obvious choice, as is Saquon Barkley. it's such a hit and miss type thing. But the question is, who do I think is going to win the MVP if push comes to shove and I have to make a prediction at the end of the day? I'm going to, oh man, I'm going to backtrack. I have to go with Patrick Mahomes because I said early in the show, I tried to get too cute on things, okay? So I'm going to go conservative. For the record, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, so Patrick Mahomes. So Jack must be picking the Chiefs to win because it would be hard for him winning if the Eagles won the Super Bowl. James.
Yeah.
Well, you're hearing it here from me for the first time. I'm disagreeing with Jack again. I'm not. I'm for you to say that, like you said, the Chiefs have to win in order for Patrick Mahomes to be the MVP. I'm going the opposite way. I'm taking the Eagles and the guy that's got 323 yards rushing and 5 total touchdowns in the playoffs, Saquon Barkley. The Chiefs are giving up 100 yards all season rushing. I just think that this is a 2,000-yard runner that's continued to show that his trajectory has been ascending. He's going to continue. I think he's going to get another 60-yard burst. He's had for a touchdown, and he's had the most this season. And I think the most in the playoffs, I'm not sure. But Saquon Barkley is going to get the MVP. And I like Jalen Hurts. They would have to stop Saquon Barkley and force Jalen Hurts to be a passer, which looked like he did when he played against the Commanders. But I like Saquon Barkley to continue to do what he's been doing all season. They're not going to stop him. You got the RPO game going there that just frees him up a little bit more than he would have. Like, and no offense, Mac, about your Giants. They didn't have that type of game there. And of course, I just think there's just too many weapons on the outside. This game is going to be a game of matchups. There's great matchups. Both teams match up very well. I think the biggest difference is the quarterback. But as far as running the game, the Chiefs aren't running up against that defensive line. And I just think that that's going to give more opportunities for Saquon Barkley. And they can't put 8 in the box because you got the 2 wide receivers there and Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. It's just going to be too hard to you can slow him down, but you're not going to stop him. And I think it's going to be enough to get him I give him 150 yards, maybe 2 TDs, and a Super Bowl MVP.
You know, if I was going to be a betting man and I wanted to look for a real long shot, to put a lot of money on a long shot to win the MVP, I would put it on Kareem Hunt. Outstanding runner. No one is talking about him in that regard. There'll be Mahomes, Kelsey, maybe Chris Jones, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Oh, A.J. Brown will get a nibble, you know. But, if the Chiefs are to win and they have Kareem Hunt's capable of having a monster game. So he would be my long shot. But I see what you mean. Steve Spagnuolo is going to be king on Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, might break off a couple of really long runs, but I don't think he's going to keep getting chunks of yardage, and run over, the Chiefs. They're really going to be key. I think they'll contain him, but perhaps he will unleash a couple of long runs, so his stats are going to look really good at the end. But it's a good selection. He would have been my second choice in reality, Saquon Barkley.
I'm going with Jalen Hurts. Kansas City probably has the best defensive coordinator in the league. Chris Jones in that front, maybe the best running defense in the league. They're unbelievable defense, very underrated, been underrated for years. And I think that they're going to keep Barkley in check. And if the Eagles are going to win this game, which I think they will, Jalen Hurts is going to have to pass. He's going to have to go to A.J. Brown. He's going to have to go to Goddard. He's going to have to go to Smith. He's probably going to have to throw the ball to Barkley a little bit. He can catch the ball. And he's going to have to run the ball too. So, like he did in the first Super Bowl. People forget how good he was in that first Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
When they lost by 3 points. If it wasn't for that fumble, maybe the Eagles win the game. So I'm going with Jalen Hurts. I think Saquon will have a decent game. I think Mahomes I don't think the Chiefs will win. Mahomes is Mahomes. Mahomes is gonna make some plays. Kelsey's gonna make some catches. I agree with you, Jack. I think Hunt is a really good running back. Chiefs, the Eagles are gonna have to score quick too. I think, right? I think they're gonna have to score quick. I think they're gonna throw the ball to Kelsey. I think they're gonna throw the ball underneath to Pacheco. I think they're gonna try and run the ball against the Eagles. And the Eagles don't just have a good running game offensive line; they have a good passing offensive line too. So I like Jalen Hurts here.
Now I do have to intercede here. You guys really think that? I mean, I like Hunt a lot, but going up against guys like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and the guy Zach Vaughn out of nowhere, out of New Orleans. I mean, he's up for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, 153 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles. You think Hunt is really going to go up against that and show out a good game?
No, potentially. I'm saying because Mahomes is a running quarterback himself. So they're not going to be like playing the run per se. They're going to want to contain Mahomes.
Right.
So, so they might, they're going to put a big pass rush on Mahomes too, but at what price? I mean, it's a hard one to tell, but listen, the Rams were having success pushing the Eagle offensive line around for a while during the game, but there's so many intangibles, you get a little tongue-tied, like what could happen, what might not happen, because the Chiefs have Pacheco as well. So you put Pacheco and Hunt in the same backfield, they're not going to be keen on Hunt. But the Chiefs could be keen on Saquon Barkley. He doesn't have that like secondary back that's going to concern him as much as the Eagles are going to be concerned about the Hunt-Pacheco combo.
Gatewell's not that bad. He's actually a really good back, secondary back.
They're not going to be concerned about him. I mean,
every time they put Gainwell in a game for Barkley, he gets like 2 yards. And
Gatewell has some really good plays at times. I mean, apparently y'all not watching as much, but Gatewell, I'm not saying that he's going to be featured here, but he can at least create a distraction if you have them both. If I'm taking 2 backs, I'm not taking Kareem Hunt and Pacheco versus those two. I'm not taking them. I mean, mostly.
No, Saquon Barkley's a superstar. I mean, we recognize that he's a superstar. Kareem Hunt's not a superstar, but Kareem Hunt is the type of back who can, potentially have a great game. He's a big-time talent, and he's done it in the past. He's capable of showing up, like we were talking about the baseball playoffs, for one game. He's just as capable of being as good as Saquon Barkley for a given game. You can't say that about most backs, but he's one of them you could say it about.
I don't think Kareem Hunt could be good as Saquon Barkley if he's
for one game.
If he's like half Saquon Barkley, that would be pretty good for one game, right? Let's not forget about the coaching, right? We can't forget about the defensive coach of Spags. Spagnuolo is easily, I think anyway, the best defensive coordinator in the league. He stays with the Chiefs. He's the highest paid, and he'll have something. He'll have something definitely, definitely dealed up to stop Saquon Barkley. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to blitz certain sides or whatever he's going to do there. Linebacker blitzes to stop the run. I'm not sure, but yes, we haven't forgotten about him. We just
Pacheco's not going to be MVP. Yeah, like cross that off your list. I mean, he might have a good game. He might rush for 70 yards or something like that. We all like Pacheco. He hasn't been as good this year as he was last year, though. He's been hurt.
I love Pacheco. Yeah, I love Pacheco. That's one of the hardest running backs for a little guy. Holy good God, that dude's legs just keep on churning. I think he's a great little.
Vic Fangio is up for Assistant of the Year. I mean, what is Vic Fangio? He's defensive coordinator, right, for the Eagles?
Yeah. I mean, both teams have great defensive coordinators. Yeah. I mean,
so it's going to be it's a good matchup. I'll say that. Let's just leave it at that. I'll say it's going to be a really good matchup. I picked the Eagles to win. I just think that it's going to be hard to contain Saquon Barkley.
You know, it's ironic you bring up that point. When you talk about the head coaches and you want to pick a winner based on the coaching, maybe we should look at the defensive coordinators who could be maybe they might be a lot more important to this game. Steve Spagnuolo, more important than Andy Reid, and Vic Fangio, more important than Nick Sirianni. You know, I mean, both defensive coordinators are maybe the key to this game. Xavier Worthy, speedster, but I don't see Worthy being, you know, an MVP.
He's lighting the britches.
AJ Brown on the Eagles side.
He's lighting the britches. This guy. Oh, apparently we got a Chiefs fan here.
Almighty goodness. Look at Hollywood Brown. He's throwing every receiver at us.
Well,
yeah, exactly, man. Come on, sit down with that, man. Look, I would tell you that you got two rookies in cornerbacks, Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, that are up for rookie defense of the year. They're holding their own. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is their safety, and he's a hard hitter. I'm not saying these guys can't get open, can't get anything, but it's going to be a total matchup, man. I love the matchups here. It's going to be
no one talks DeAndre Hopkins.
Let's say it again.
DeAndre Hopkins.
He said D-Hop. He put in D-Hop, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, at his best, you could argue he's one of the best wide receivers in football. And, you know, we keep
at what year?
Well, I mean, but maybe he went to
that Hop is not.
Got injured. He went to Arizona. You know, he got injured, but maybe he'll be in form in this game.
This is his first Super Bowl, so I'm pretty sure he's motivated. But
Almighty finesse that he's not a Chiefs fan. Listen, I keep throwing them at us. Keep throwing at us. We can.
I can keep countering. It's like, oh my God.
That's all right. Don't listen to him. I mean, we'll put you on a debate show. Almighty finesse if you ever want to debate James. Well, me and Jack will just watch YouTube debate. So anyway, folks, we're at the top of the hour. Thank you for joining us on the Mac and Jack and James Sports Debate Show. We have a lot of fun doing this. We debate the new stuff, the old stuff, and we have a lot of fun doing it. Thank you for the participation, all the views, and hopefully shares later. Have a great, great Saturday, folks. Stay out of trouble.